Hey guys, so this is kind of a really random YouTube video. I do really enjoy sitting in my car and chatting though. So I was asking for YouTube video ideas on Instagram the other day, and this one person has asked me to make this video a million times, and it's to talk about my supernatural experiences. And I always just kind of wrote it off because I just thought, well, I don't know, that's not very interesting. So I never did it. But she was so persistent about it that I asked if anyone else would be interested in hearing about my supernatural experiences in a YouTube video. And I actually received a lot. And I know, like, people say, I've got so many requests for it was a lot. It was a lot. It was like over 50 people or so that were like, yes, we want to hear about your supernatural experiences. So I'm going to make this video and talk about the two supernatural experiences that I can recall having in my life. I'm not one of these people that wants to go do ayahuasca trips, and I don't think I'm a medium. I know that's a really common thing now, and everybody, like, I don't know. I don't know if it's just the world that I'm in of like yoga people and living in Malibu where people are just really into these sort of alternative things and having these experiences or whatever. That's not me. I'm not into that. I am the kind of girl that does, believe that there's something to astrology, and I don't know if people like the medical medium hear spirit or whatever. Like, I don't discount any of that stuff, but it's never happened to me, so I don't know. But I have had two particular experiences in my life that were unexplainable in any other way. So let's get right into it. The first one was when I was in high school. I was about 15 years old, 16 years old. And for the last two periods of the day, it was fifth and sixth period, I was taking a class called cinematography. And it was a 2-hour class. So it was for two of the periods. So halfway through the class, the bell would ring, and when people were changing classes or whatever, you could just get up and go to the bathroom or whatever, do whatever you wanted for that 5-minute passing period. So my friend and I got up and we went outside of the classroom and we sat down on the ground, right outside the classroom. So it was just amidst this busy building where, people were walking by and everything, going to their next classes, and we were just chatting. And so we just sat down on the ground and we were chatting, and I don't know if it was about anything really particular. Oh, I just opened my garage door. So I don't know. I don't recall what the conversation was about. It was maybe an intense conversation. It wasn't super serious or, it wasn't anything dramatic or anything like that. I don't think that the conversation we were having was relevant to what happened. Some time passed by, and then we realized, we better go back to class. The bell must have rang and we didn't realize we should go back to class. And so we got up to go back into the classroom, and everybody was gone. There was no one in the classroom. It was so bizarre. We were like, that's weird. Where did everybody go? Did they all go out to the field, or where did they go? And I also noticed that everybody's belongings were gone. So everybody's backpacks were gone. It was just our two backpacks that were sitting there at our desk. So we were like, okay, that's really weird. So we picked up our backpacks and we walked down the hall. We looked in the classroom next to us and nobody was there either. And we started to feel panicked, and we looked all around the building and nobody was anywhere to be seen. It was just completely abandoned. Everybody was gone. We were like, what in the fuck? And I know what you guys are thinking. You guys are thinking, Michelle, you have alluded to the fact that you've done a lot of partying. There was a lot of extracurricular, mind expanding, mushrooms being eaten and blah, blah, blah. And yes, this is true. There was a lot of that going on in my youth. But there was none of that happening today. So neither of us we were completely 100% sober. No joints had been smoked. No mushrooms had been eaten. None of that stuff was happening that day. So anyway, we raced around the school, and finally we realized, okay, everybody in the fucking school is completely gone. And we looked at a clock because we didn't have iPhones. We didn't have watches then, whatever. We found a clock in the classroom that was still open, and it said that it was 4:30 p.m. And we were like, that has to be wrong. That can't possibly be right. It can't be 4:30. That would have meant that school ended 2 hours ago. And we had just stepped outside of our class for a mere 5 or 6 minutes. And so we found another clock in another classroom, and it said it was 4:30, and there was a custodian in there cleaning up. So we realized that it was indeed 4:30, and somehow about 3 hours of our life had disappeared. Listen, I know this is not a very intriguing story. There was no vision that I saw. I didn't get abducted by aliens. Maybe I did. That's one of the theories about when large spans of time disappears, that you get abducted by aliens. I don't recall any sort of aliens or anal probing. I was not sore in weird areas. I didn't have none of that. None of that funny business appears to have gone on. I just am missing about 3 hours of my life. And it seems bizarre, and like, it doesn't seem likely that we just got caught up in conversation and lost track of time, because again, it was 3 hours that felt like 5 minutes. And also the bells would have had to have rung. People would have had to have literally stepped over us as we were sitting on the ground outside of the classrooms where everybody walked through, and they would have had to stepped over us. We would have noticed if that had happened. So that was it. We left the school. We had to walk all the way home. We didn't have a ride. And that was that. And we just never figured out what happened to those 3 hours of our life. It was super baffling. I've never had anything like that happen before or since. And that was my first, I guess, I don't even know, is that a supernatural experience? Do you guys have any theories? What are the theories about losing track of time? I don't know. Is this even interesting? The others, what I will call supernatural experience that I've had in my life, is also kind of not that interesting. I just, the bare facts of it just aren't that interesting. It was more of a sense of feeling of utter creepiness that my friend and I had. Anyway, I'll just tell you what happened. So this was quite a few years ago. It was when my kids were very, very young, like they were still babies. My girlfriend and I, we were still living in Las Vegas. My girlfriend and I went on a girls' trip to New York City without the kids. We were just there for 48 hours, so in and out. We had a good time. Again, preface this by saying no drugs were done. Okay, guys, those days were behind me after I had children. Okay, so that was not a factor here. So we had gone out shopping that day, and she had bought these like little charms from a store, like little kind of like keychain. Oh, they're keychains. And they had little charms on them, and she was going to give them to her girlfriends for Easter, which was coming up. So she had them like wrapped in like a package, and they were in a box, and there was neatly put in her suitcase. And we were leaving the following morning, and we went out to dinner. And so we had everything packed and ready to go because we were leaving very early for the airport the next morning. And my friend is a very anal, sort of meticulous, neat freak. Everything in her life is organized. This girl does not have a junk drawer in her entire life. Like, you should see her bathroom drawer. When you open it up, there's like separate compartments for like bobby pins and this things and that. It's just so neat. So the way that she packed her bag was just, I don't even know how you pack a bag like this. Like, I am neat and pack a bag. I fold my shit, but it doesn't look like this. It's just like perfectly fitted into these things. So she had her bag packed, and she had this little box of like these keychain charms. Like, they're fit completely perfectly into this little square space that just matched the square box exactly. And so we came home from dinner that night, and I had bought this new like face product or face wash or something that day, and she was like, oh, let me try that face wash that you bought. And so I'm like, okay. So I run into my bathroom to go get it out of my bag, which was packed, and I open up my bag, and there were her charms. And I was like, that's really weird. And she was with me, and I was like, what are these doing in here? I didn't know what they were at first. So I opened it up. I was like, what are these doing in here? And she was like, her face like went white, and she was like, oh my God, Michelle, that's really strange. I packed those in my bag, and I know that I did. I don't know why they would be in here. We had 2 separate rooms. We were staying in her family's apartment there. And so there was no way that we could have confused it. And so we run to her room, open up her suitcase, and there was like an empty square space of exactly where the charms had been set. And it's weird, I know, but it's not like scary or spooky or supernatural. But we just had this intense feeling of terror, both of us. I don't know why. And we were super scared, and we couldn't stay in that apartment that night. So we were like, okay, let's pack our stuff and get the fuck out of here. We just had this sense that someone or something had been in there, like that we weren't alone. It was just very eerie. And I'm not like a weirdo person like this. Like, things like this don't happen to me. They don't freak me out. I don't believe in like supernatural things, really. So we just had this really scary feeling of terror. So we were like, let's get the fuck out of here. So we pack up our bags. We're like, okay, let's go to a hotel. And there was no hotels available. Nowhere at all. Like, we called every hotel in the area and could not find anything. So then finally, I called my baby daddy at the time, and he had like a private concierge service that found a hotel that was available. It was like on the Lower East Side. It was in a weird area, but they had a room for us. And so we were like, okay, we'll take it. Let's go. So we hop in a cab, we go to that place, and we were talking about what had happened while we were in the cab. And we were just trying to fathom what had happened. And I'm like, it's impossible. It's just impossible that it got moved. And at that very moment, we looked up, and we were at a stop sign, and we looked up, and in the glass window of a store next to us, it was spray painted in red, and it said, "Impossible is nothing." And we were like, ugh, because it was at the very moment that I was saying, oh, it's impossible. So anyway, so that freaked us out. And then we get to the hotel. It's super weird. We look inside. We're like, okay, I guess it's fine. So we get all our stuff. We walk inside, and the hotel was like, there was like a red light, and everything was like dark red. Like, the furniture was red, and the front desk was very, very dark. And they had a vase there. And instead of having like what you would expect to be flowers in the vase, it was just a bunch of really creepy looking dead sticks. And the guy at the front desk looks at us like this, and he goes, "We've been expecting you." That's exactly how he said it. And we were like, oh my God, like, don't fuck with us right now. This is not the right time to fuck with us. And we were like, okay. So we get the room, and he's like, oh, you're lucky. The only room available is our best room in the hotel. It's in the penthouse. And we were like, okay, cool. And so he takes us up in the elevator. It's one of those old elevators that you have to like close the door to and stuff. And he's taking us up there. He's like, yes, there's plenty of bedrooms. We're like, well, it's just the 2 of us. He's like, well, there could be other creatures. We were like, excuse me? Other creatures? What the fuck are you talking about? We were so scared and so freaked out. We get up into this room. It is the weirdest hotel room I've ever seen in my entire life. There was random rooms with bunk beds in them, and like just bay windows that you could see all around outside. It wasn't a nice area of New York, by the way. It wasn't that pretty or anything like that. And so we were so scared that we were like, okay, we slept in the same bed that night because we were terrified. And all night long, like, I was in the dark, and I could feel my body sliding towards the end of the bed, as if my bed was like on a diagonal like this, and my head was here, and I was sliding off. Like, I could feel myself sliding off all night long, and I would have to keep crawling to the top of the bed. It was so fucking weird. And my friend said the next morning, she said that all night long, like, she felt like I was like moving around in the bed like crazy. And then she would turn on the light and look at me and to tell me to stop moving. And I would be fast asleep, completely asleep. And that continued to happen all night. And I kept hearing these like noises of like voices or scurrying around and stuff like that. And I would like open my eyes, and I would wake up, and I would like look around, and there would be nothing there. It was just really bizarre. I don't know how to explain the feeling that I had, but it was mostly just this absolute feeling of like not being alone, like of having some other presence or being around us or with us. And the intention of that presence or being was to freak us out. And that was it. Those are my two stories. I mean, I have one other situation when I was younger and I was camping in Hawaii. And there's this legend of night marchers in Hawaii. Night marchers are these, whatever, Hawaiian warriors, I guess they are. But if you hear, like if you're outside at nighttime, you're camping or something, and you hear the drums of the night marchers, you're supposed to like avert your eyes and not look, because if they pass through your camp or wherever you are and you look at them, you die, I guess. So anyway, I was camping and we did hear drums and we freaked out thinking, oh my God, it's definitely night marchers. But I mean, it could have just been people drumming, but it was a little creepy. Anyway, but that's it. Those are my only supernatural experiences. And I don't know if this was boring. Like, have you guys ever had experiences like this? Please tell me about it in the comments. And if you've ever had like a loss of a chunk of time, let me know about it. And what are the different theories about that? Because I'm not really I'm fascinated by these things because it happened to me, but I'm not like a conspiracy theorist or anything like that. So I don't really know what the theories are about these like losses of chunks of time. I think I would have been more likely to dismiss it if it had just been me, but it was me and someone else that both experienced it in the exact same way with both things, actually. So yeah, there's my YouTube video about my supernatural experiences. Please leave a comment and share your experience, because I would like to know that I am not alone and I am not a crazy person. All right, guys, I'll see you soon. Mwah.